Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
Armchair Quarterbacks Radio covers the whole SEC the whole season long.
Dobbs heaves it. They're bunched up in the end zone. It's tipped up. It's caught. It is caught. Jawan Jennings.
Just the start of things. First quarter at the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. And Walker's big to the right. Gets outside. The 35. Look out. He's past midfield and he's got a blocker. Cuts to the inside. Herschel Walker. There he goes again.
Straight up the middle. Touchdown. Delayed reaction, but Tebow got in. Oh, jump pass. How about that? Oh, my gosh. That looks like 1955. Are you kidding me?
Armchair.
SEC!
Don't go away, monkey junkies.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Armchair.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
No, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Hey, sports fans, football season is here, and it's time to get in on the action. MyBookie.ag has more odds and props than anyone else in the industry. Using MyBookie is simple. Just pick your team, select your odds, and collect your cash. MyBookie.ag has proven to be the most exciting online experience for all sports fans. With the fastest payouts in the industry, there's no other choice than MyBookie.ag. Get in on the action today. Visit MyBookie.ag today.
Dread running to the post office? Stamps.com brings post office and UPS services right to your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and get up to 40% off USPS and up to 62% off UPS rates. Nearly 1 million small businesses use Stamps.com to save time and money. It's a no-brainer. So skip the post office and visit Stamps.com. Use promo code LISTEN for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com, promo code LISTEN.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
That's what he said, you ignorant wretch. Spanish is worse than your English.
Armchair Quarterback Show, talking about things that'll piss you off, things that'll make you think, things that'll make you laugh, things all throughout the sports world. The Armchair Quarterback Show, weekdays, drive time, talking about things.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
The word is tasteful. Now, I want you to relax and have fun, because you're a fun guy. All right, let's do it, huh? Yeah. Okay. Come on. Feel the beat. Feel the beat. You know, you got some real strong pecs, but it's hard to tell under that T-shirt.
You want me to take it off?
Well, I don't know. It's up to you.
You think it would be better if I did?
It might be. I mean, whatever you... Come on. Yeah. That's it. Come on, George. That's it. Come on, give it to me. Come on, work it. Oh, yeah. Own it. Yeah, be there.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. With a good in his head. Yeah, the armchair quarterback.
Hey, howdy, hi, good morning to you. Armchair Quarterback Radio Show, Armchair Quarterback Nation on YouTube Live. Tony Aguilini, how the hell are you this morning, sir?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. We got a lot to get into and a little time to do it. Justin Waller's on the way at the bottom of the hour. I don't believe he's going to make it to this segment. First of all, I guess clear the first thing out of the way, and that would be this Jackson State late hit. Now, I was not aware of it until one of our viewers brought it up to me yesterday. Did you see this live, or were you even aware that this thing happened?
I saw it on Twitter. I didn't see it live. I think I was Sunday. I think I was watching Florida Vanderbilt baseball or watching golf or something. But to be honest, I thought I'd watch a little bit more of the FCS in the spring than I have. I've watched maybe bits and pieces of random games, but I did see the hit because Twitter kind of blew up about it.
So I've got the video right here for people who haven't seen it. So you said this took place Sunday?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that though. It might have been
Saturday. I didn't even know it was being televised. I have not seen any advertising for it. I'm like you. I thought I would watch more of this, but I never know when it's on. Never know when it's on. So that to me is a huge issue. The fact that they are not even promoting this, which I think is a terrible job, because if it's going to be on, why not tell people about it? Why not bring football? The whole time I watched the NFL draft, no one brought this up that they were playing. And evidently I was curious about it, but evidently it was being televised on the 4-letter network. So I didn't even realize that. I don't know how I missed that. Didn't see a single commercial for it, but that's a different issue. So what is your take on that hit as far as should that kid be, I don't even know if there were any ejections. As far as I know, it was just the flag thrown. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think I was reading that article this morning that you sent me. He was ejected. I mean, it was a dirty hit.
Right, but does he get to play next week?
It doesn't matter. I think Delaware State won, so their season's over. So he might have the summer to think about whether he's playing in the opener in the fall. But he was ejected, rightfully so. I mean, the kid was technically still in bounds, but that doesn't matter. He launched and he went helmet first, and that'll get you thrown out of any game in college football, and probably about a $75,000 fine in the NFL too.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Across the board, especially in the National Football League, they've got to come up with something, because if they don't want them touching the quarterbacks, and I do agree that was a blatant unsportsmanlike hit. It may not technically have been a late hit because he wasn't technically out of bounds, but when the quarterback gives himself up as running out of bounds, then you have to assume that you're not going to be hit, right? But the problem is that I see – I've seen Pat Mahomes do it just as much as any other college quarterback do that. They start going towards the sidelines, and when the linebacker or safety or whoever lets up because they think they're going out of bounds, then they scoot up the field for another 5-10 yards. And that's happened quite a bit over the last couple of years. And that there's got to be almost like, so when the quarterback slides and they give themselves up, and it's not where you end up at, but it's where you begin the slide. I think they've got to come up with some kind of weird rule like that to be able to say, whenever you start to give yourself up as you're running out of bounds as the quarterback, I don't know if he's got to put his hand in the air, whatever, that's when the play ends. And I think that would eliminate some of this stuff, because I didn't watch the whole game, and I don't know if that quarterback did what I'm talking about with the Pat Mahomes junk that I've seen him do from time to time, where he acts like he's walking out at the 39 and then he scoots on down to the 37 and everyone's caught by surprise. What say you? I mean, would you be for that? Because I just think the gamemanship, when you do that, I get that, oh, he outsmarted, but then when someone lays the wood to you because like, you're going out of bounds, whether you like it or not, that's the problem we're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, if the Jackson kid just shoves him out of bounds, everything's good. That game apparently had gotten a little chippy before that a few times too. So I think that obviously it kind of came to a head there, I guess, and the guy decided to take it into his own hands. But yeah, you do see that sometimes where the quarterback's kind of headed towards out of bounds and he'll scoot up a little bit. We used to do that. That was an old trick in video games, but also the the defenders kind of, like I said, just shove them out of bounds, get it over with. You don't. What that kid did was unbelievable. But back to your point though, yeah, there can be something where the quarterback's giving himself up and blow the play dead or just raise your hand or do something. But it's funny. Yet another judgment thing for the refs to worry about.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is because I don't know, but the only reason why I said something about a hand is because I was thinking of fair catch. Mm-hmm. But obviously, if you're running for your life, you don't have time to do this number. But there's got to be something that they can come up with that says, look, once I do this, that means you can't hit me, and the play is stopping where forward progress is at. And at the same token, I can't try to outmaneuver you and go down the sidelines because eventually that ticks off the defense, and they're like, oh, you're going out of bounds next time. Because I would do it to Pat Mahomes. The times I've seen him, a couple of times they were in playoff games. And to me, maybe this is just the old guy in me, the old school, whatever. I think to myself, I guarantee if you put your freaking helmet right in his chest one time, he'll knock that off, at least for the ball game. So I don't know. Something's got to be done. Moving on from that, I haven't seen you since the Jaguars draft concluded. Obviously, we knew for months it was going to be Trevor Lawrence. There's a picture of the first time he was photographed in a Jaguar jersey for real, not one of these Photoshop deals. Adam Schefter released it late last night, so I figured it was an appropriate picture to put up today. All in all, were you happy with the Jags draft?
Yeah, I was. I think everybody does draft grades, and I gave him an A with pluses and minuses included. So I thought it was a solid A. I think obviously Lawrence and ETN are the headliners. They're the ones everybody's seen the most of and got the most publicity before the draft.
Let me ask you something as a Gator fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're automatically not going to like a Georgia Bulldog, but were you impressed by the pick, second round, first pick, them going after the Gator defensive back? Because I felt like there were better defensive backs on the board, but then also I kind of would the pick I really had him for at that point because you have the night to think about it. I thought they were going to go after Jenkins, the offensive lineman from OK State, and they pass on him. They end up taking another offensive lineman later in the second round, who, oh, by the way, has not played competitive football on any real scale since 2018. So, were you surprised? Were you impressed with his time at Georgia? I want to get your take on him because you obviously seen him play a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. That's about what I was going to say. I mean, the two picks that stood out to me that I was kind of hesitant on would have been Campbell and Little, the two guys that you mentioned. I thought, when you have the first pick of the third round, you've got the entire, college football nation, at your fingertips as far as who you can pick. And I thought Campbell was okay. He got mossed a few times in the Florida Georgia game last year, and I was reading the reviews, and this is kind of my thought on him too. My original thought was he wasn't a guy where before each play I had to see who he was guarding and where he was on the field. He didn't have that Terrell Buckley kind of thing where you got to know where he is and see what's up where he's at. With the other thing with him, I guess they're betting on, he's seen a lot of the best receivers around here in his 3 years at Georgia. Georgia obviously plays in a really good conference, but there's a lot of other guys that play in the Big Ten and ACC that are really good too. So I wasn't that impressed with that pick. That was one of the ones where I was just kind of, that's okay. But I really thought they would go with a higher offensive line pick, like you said, the kid from Oklahoma State. There was a couple safeties out there they could have went. They went safety later on in the draft, but. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the direction you're headed is that Campbell's kind of, just a guy, just another, SEC cornerback. And I tend to agree with that. He wasn't
it's not that he's a terrible pick. I just thought it was a reach. Just like I think ETN was a reach. I feel like ETN probably would have been there at the number 1 pick in the second round. I don't believe any of the teams that were drafting were going to draft ETN. And I know that Urban Meyer had to get his toys and all that kind of stuff, but ETN, I mean, when you admit that she's a third down back, that's concerning that you waste a first round pick over on a guy who's going to play maybe 7 or 8 plays of real consequence a game. And then the Tyson Campbell thing, look, there were 3 other defensive backs at that time that I felt like were ranked higher than it. And then, the Walker Little thing is just head scratcher. Andre Cisco wasn't a bad pick. He had high ratings. I don't ever remember being terrified of Andre Cisco when Florida State played Syracuse, and we haven't been good. But that wasn't a terrible pick. The rest of the draft, as soon as I want to say Jalen Camp with Georgia Tech, who drafts a wide receiver out of Georgia Tech, the first thing you think of is Megatron. So you just never know what the hell is going to come out of Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and at least last year, Tech played a regular offensive system with Sims at quarterback and the new coach. They weren't still running the wing T or triple option or whatever. So,
right.
Who knows? Maybe he developed a little bit there. Luke Farrell's just a kid at tight end that Urban Meyer recruited originally. So, he's kind of going to go with some guys that he knows. And they needed to draft a tight end. I think we had the Tebow thing last week, and I think this whole thing with the tight end in Jacksonville is the most overplayed thing in a while here. Like it doesn't matter who their tight end is. I don't need it to be Tebow. I hope they actually find an NFL player that's a tight end. But it's the most overblown thing. Like you don't have to solve all your problems in this draft. Like just have a good draft next year and build this thing into something where you're going to.
That's what I wonder. How is Urban Meyer going to deal with not being a college coach and the fact that the losses come much more often, right? And he definitely doesn't have the best roster in the National Football League. So he's got to expect bare minimum, even if they play perfect this year. I think 8-8 is the highest ceiling they could even think about. I think much more realistic is like a 6-10. I would take 4-12 if a lot of those games they were competitive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ceiling for this team, I think, is 7-9 this year, and that's probably being a little generous.
Right.
They do get to play the Texans twice, who the Texans are kind of a disaster right now.
Dumpster fire.
But they're set. Well, it's funny. I keep giving predictions based on 16 games instead of 17. But I think.
True.
I do think 7 wins is probably the max.
You know why? Because 17 games is stupid.
Right, exactly.
It makes no sense.
Yeah,
like I think, either go up in even 18 or what the hell is this, right? I mean, God.
I think ultimately the difference when the Jaguars get good in a year or two, well, 2 or 3 years, ultimately it's going to be at the line of scrimmage is where they're going to have to make their hay. They've got to get.
That's what I would have preferred to see. Honestly, I would not have had a problem with them punting on the defensive backfield for this year and just go line up the big boys, get you some offensive and defensive line help in this draft. Yeah, you get Trevor Lawrence and maybe you get the toy like ETN, but then just go heavy on the line because, like you said, it's going to be a tough. They didn't do anything with the wide receiving core, and if you're not going to do anything with that, I think you're going to be in for a long year because Marvin Jones Jr. that is not the signing that's going to move the needle, and the rest of that receiving core is mediocre at best. Yeah. Okay. That is not DJ Chark did not show up last year. He was an issue. Will he show up this year? Maybe. But then at the same token, what does that say about him, right? That he mentally checked out. So is he going to get along with Urban Meyer? That's a huge question in my book. But anyways, we'll move on. I just wanted to get your take on what we were going to see out of the Jaguars. It wasn't a terrible draft. I've got him sitting like around a B- ish. You could talk me into a C+.
Yeah, I think to me it was refreshing that like they showed some of these highlight videos, and obviously they're not going to show the kid at Stanford like being a turnstile against better teams or whatever. And my comment at the time was every time they showed a highlight of him blocking somebody, it was like some 220-pound defensive end from Arizona.
Right.
But I guess I heard David Shaw on the radio the other day, and of course he's going to pump up his guy, but the guy hadn't played in 2 years, which obviously that's a big deal. But I guess he said too, he's put on 30 pounds of muscle allegedly since not playing. So we'll see. Every guy
I put on 30 pounds of muscle during the pandemic. Okay, whatever.
every pick, I think after I think Cisco's going to be good. He's kind of that head hunting safety that the NFL likes. Meyer went speed for most of these guys. But yeah, I think they probably overdrafted Tyson Campbell. Like I said, to me, he's just a guy. But I do think there's some concerns with CJ Henderson. He didn't have the greatest year last year. Got hurt. I think he's had some issues. And good news is he got his degree, I guess, during the time that he was off. But I think Henderson's a giant question mark, maybe bigger than what the Jaguars are letting on.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on from that, the college baseball season is getting pretty much at a full board. What do we have? Like maybe 2 weeks left of
this week and then next week and the week after. And
right. So essentially 2 weeks from today we'll be at the final weekend, correct? So Florida took one on the chin last night. I actually watched the tail end of that Florida-Kentucky game. Yeah. I saw you tweeting. I was like, what is he talking about? Like, oh, hell, they're playing tonight. And then I couldn't help but laugh at that tweet that you sent out that the basketball coach White was going to have some virtual thing on what?
Yeah, so here in Florida still, we're not like Texas where Jimbo Fisher made his comment the other day in front of an actual crowd. They're doing all the coaches tours, whether it's football or basketball, they're doing those all online. So Coach White had one yesterday and he'll have one in a week, but mostly just the first time he's really spoken since
that's
about
got to be a university decision though, because I see I see our governor chugging champagne and licking doorknobs. So it can't be state regulated.
It is. It's almost so Jacksonville always gets whoever the football coach is, and then usually one of the surrounding counties. Like when I was helping out with Clay County Gator Club, we would get the basketball coach in person, and that's just they're not doing that this year for at least I think this next year all that stuff will be back, which is actually probably a good thing for Coach White that these are online. But basically,
I got a question.
Yeah, what the hell happened up 18 against?
Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah. But just kind of a chance for him to kind of give some updates, and I'll try and find a replay of it today. But mostly just gave a Keontae Johnson update. He's doing better. He had fun coaching last year, and hoping to maybe get back this year if they'll pass him through.
He's going to try to play. I mean, that is just amazing to me.
I'm torn on it. I want to see him play. I think, he loves basketball. Let him play.
What a PR disaster would that be, and terrible for the kid, obviously, if he collapses again and then it doesn't turn out well, whether he doesn't, God forbid, he stops breathing. But then what if he just has some long-term deal where he's like brain damage? I don't think I would want, I would really try to talk that kid into coaching and say, hey, man, let's be honest. The NBA is not going to freaking take a big risk on you. Let's just go ahead and, call it a day. And I don't know. I get it. He's 19, 20 years old, probably feels invincible, but it's got not Len Bias. It's got Hank Gathers written all over this.
Yeah. Like don't push it. And, take what God gave you and kind of go from there. I think the gist of his message yesterday was probably just, we got a whole new roster pretty much. They still have 2 assistant coaching openings for them to fill. One guy went to JU, and then one of the other coach went to Radford up in Virginia, both for head coaching spots. So, but yeah, that's what that was about. They're doing that virtual this year. The Mullen one was all right. I'm assuming the Coach White one's just as average as the Mullen one was. So, but yeah, for baseball last night, we got down 5-0, and it's funny the first game of the series. For the last 10 years was almost always an automatic W because we had our best pitcher that night. And this year we're throwing Mace, who's I think he's our best pitcher. We're throwing him in game 2. So he'll throw tonight, and then Barco from Vols tomorrow or on Saturday. Got down 5-0. Alamon's super inconsistent as our first starter. So we tend to get down some runs and then try and fight our way back, and which is what happened against Rocker.
Are any of these Gator pitchers being expected to be drafted high this year?
Mace should be. Alamon might be just based on potential. He was I think a JUCO kid, and he's only going to play for us for a year. But yeah, Mace was probably going to be. They only had 5 rounds last year. Mace was probably going to be picked in the 4th or 5th, but he pretty much made it known
he's the guy that's going tonight.
Yeah, he was the one that went up against Leiter last Saturday, and really neither of those guys looked any good until Mace finally settled down in the 4th. Leiter got lit up the other night by us. So that was good to see, but then we couldn't hit the Kentucky kid for 6 innings last night either. So, but yeah, I think Florida will probably win the next two. Kentucky doesn't have much pitching wise. They can hit pretty well, but everybody in the SEC can hit. The pitching's the difference, and we didn't really blow through a bunch of guys last night. So, but yeah, it was a dumb loss. We had 3 errors last night, and like I said, I think we had 2 hits through the first 6 innings, and Kentucky kind of jumped us. But yeah, it was a chance for us really if we could have swept Kentucky, it was a chance for us to make up some ground. We're only a game or 2 back from Vandy and Tennessee, so at least in the East.
Florida State's got a big series at Notre Dame this weekend.
Yeah, Notre Dame's having a really good year this year.
Yeah, they're ranked number 7 in the country. The Fighting Irish are. The game's televised on the ACC network, by the way, for tonight. I'm not sure about the rest. I'll get into that later in the show. Before you walk off on out of here, are there any other big series that you got your eye on this weekend, or are you pretty much just going to be locked into the Florida one?
I'll mostly watch the Gator one, but LSU and Auburn, they're a Thursday, Saturday. That's big because not everybody gets to go to the SEC tournament from what I was reading this year. And there's that one, they're kind of both fighting for the chance to get in the conference tournament, which is way different from what LSU is accustomed to. Auburn's good about once every 7 years or so. But yeah, that's a big series. I'm trying to get to where I can see who.
Well, I see that Mississippi State and South Carolina is playing this.
Yeah, that's a big one. Carolina's been kind of up and down lately. So if they can take 2 out of 3 from Mississippi State, I think Mississippi State's been rolling lately. Arkansas is obviously I still think Arkansas is the class of the league, mostly because they've got a little bit more pitching depth. Like we saw last weekend, once Vandy gets past Rocker and Leiter, they really have just a bunch of freshmen that don't quite know what they're doing yet as far as pitching goes. And if you can get Rocker and Leiter out like in the first 4 or 5 innings, which is rare, and make them kind of blow through their guys the first 2 nights, they've got nothing left for Sunday. So and the other problem, Arkansas hits so well. It seems like they score 10 runs every game. So yeah, it's coming down to it. I mean, teams are fighting for being able to host regionals. I think they're going to announce regional sites next week, and then kind of go from there. But yeah, it's going to be different this year. I mean, the possibility exists you could host a regional that your team's not even playing at.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, it's so many levels, but we don't have time to get into the politics of that garbage. What is your walk off for the day, sir?
Oh, I like to talk a little golf. Golf is at Quail Hollow this weekend. It's a little slower.
Are they at a putt and a putt? I saw like the leader's already 7 under. Like what?
Yeah, it's they can make that course really tough if they want. They've had the PGA there a couple years ago, and scores weren't that crazy, but it'll. Yeah, even Phil shot 7 under yesterday, so maybe they need to reevaluate things.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Quail Hollow is a fun course. It's they had to skip it. They didn't play it last year, obviously, and then the year before that they had it in Wilmington because Quail Hollow was hosting the PGA Championship. So it's got a good group of golfers that are playing in it. Rory continues to struggle, so I would hold off on picking him to win at Kiowa here in a few weeks. But it's a nice little leaderboard. Mickelson, Fleetwood, Gary Woodland, who won the U.S. Open recently, and some other guys. So we'll see. That course always usually has some drama. Usually ends up in a playoff. I wouldn't spend all day Saturday watching it, but I'd spend the back half of Sunday watching the end of that.
Yeah, I think I'll be locked into college and pro baseball. I don't think I'll be getting involved in that. Next week, I'll have my interest with the NHL playoffs. All right, brother, we'll see you next Friday.
Which, by the way, the Stars will be no part of, apparently, because they have absolutely gassed it this year, so much to my chagrin.
It's been so hard for me to keep up with hockey the way they've compartmentalized all the divisions. But
yeah, my buddy's been in Tampa like for 2 months of this whole season, it seems like, but can't go see it.
All right, brother. See you next Friday.
All right, man. Take care.
Does anybody in here have a valid reason for leaving this classroom? Timothy.
I got to go pick up my daughter.
You're excused.